Welcome back to another episode of the Zuriel Show. In this special segment, as you all know, we're keeping up with the changes within Industry 4.0, and we're starting this new segment known as Understanding Industry 4.0 within Africa, where we invite special guests who are industry professionals from around the world. Today, we're joined in by Julie Mumbi. Julie, introduce yourself to the people, who you are, and simply what you do.
Okay, hi. My name is Julie Mumbi, popularly known as Njoki. I feel like Njoki makes me more relatable. I am a fun person who is into tech. I have a background in electrical and telecommunications engineering and just got recently certified as a Prince 2 Agile practitioner. I have had my career in KPMG, East Africa, for the most of the last 3.5 years, and that is in risk consulting, with majorly in project management and in the SACCO industry for the big part of it. And just most recently got accepted into the Africa KOMMT fellowship. That's a German program, and this is my second month in the program. Yeah, yeah.
Lovely stuff. Lovely, lovely. And I look forward to touching on the different areas surrounding digital. Now, one thing I think it's quite noticeable is we're within the same age bracket, and that's really the focus of today's discussion, which is we're looking to tap into what are the opportunities within this digital space in terms of the ongoing transformation. What are the things to look out for? Now, something we always dive into within all our episodes is our guests' unique stories before we now touch on the topic of the day. So, the one theme or one similar question that we usually have is, could you describe the type of student that you are in high school or university, depending on your choice? And what is one lesson that you learned that's still relevant to you till this day?
Mm, that's a very touchy subject because most people don't like what sort of student I was.
Okay.
I loved school. I have loved school all my life. I have studied for fun. And I took physics, for example, as the love of my life. I was supposed to be a doctor. So my
Wow.
mom kept asking, how comes you want to be a doctor, but you're taking physics? You clearly are performing better in history and geography. So why are you taking a harder subject? I said, I'm doing everything else for you for medicine. And this particular one I'm doing for the love of it. This is what I enjoy. So I have always thought of education and learning as an adventure and something that I get to discover for myself. And that's the same thing in uni. So physics actually got me to do engineering. If I had listened to people, I would not have done engineering. So I got to uni and the same thing happened. I got in there and I have a relationship with God. So I told him, I'm going out here and I'm going to study to give you glory, as in let me have fun while doing this. So I enjoyed my classes. I wanted to quit every semester, but I still enjoyed my classes and I did my research. You know how in uni you have people who came up with answer sheets, like the marking schemes. I have never trusted a marking scheme in my life. If I have not seen it in a book, I don't trust your answer. I'm those people. So that's what I did, and I enjoyed school. And now, as an adult, it scares me a little to learn new things, but I enjoyed it for the most part of uni and high school. Yeah, that's what I did. So, what I learned primarily is if you have a gut feeling and you love something, do it, especially with the physics thing, just do it. There's no limit to learning. What do you lose from learning something new? Just do it. Just learn. Don't just think, hey, I'm focusing on this specific path, so I have to go in only that direction. If you feel you can do something a bit different, do it. That's what I got.
Thank you for that. And we'll
Yeah.
definitely touch into that when we're looking at how the youth can really look at the opportunities ahead of them. So Thank you for setting that up and as well briefly introducing yourself to the audience as a whole. So, to quickly kick off the discussion, as we always let our audience members know, if you have no understanding or really you're simply here to learn something new, do not worry about knowing what digital transformation is. We like to kick off the topic of the day by asking our guests to define how do you describe digital transformation in your own way?
Okay. So I'm going to give you a bit of an illustration.
Okay,
So I
interesting.
had just started off, here I am, I'm green
Mm,
as an engineer. And at that year, KPMG really had engineers. It's very interesting. So in
mm,
school, we're taught that you are being trained to be a thinker. So I come in here and the whole world is asking, why didn't you get a job in KPLC, Kengen, or Safaricom? And I said,
mm,
I want to learn how to manage myself and people and to be a professional. So that's why I got into KPMG. So going into it, of course, my first projects were I went to audit a bank, then I audited some tea farms
yeah.
and things like that. And for the most part, I enjoyed it because, again, I have been taught to value efficiency. But what I'm trying to say is later I decided, hey, I want to do something that's long term, something that does not mean I'm fighting with the client. Because when you go to do audits, most people look at you like the enemy. Hey, I'm looking at your books. Give me the evidence for what it is. Have you been doing everything correct? What I wanted to do in this place was come in, get to know what are your pain points, where do you need to improve,
Mm,
and let me work with you to get there. So I thought it was that easy. Silly me. And I went in there. And I actually went and told one of our senior managers, I want to do a project. And he forgot. Then I went again and I told him, do you remember a few months ago I told you I want to be in projects? He said, no. I said, now this is a reminder. I want to be in projects.
mm,
So one day they're going to a board presentation and I'm told, Julie, come,
mm,
let's go. I'm like, where are we going? Just come. I'm like, do I carry my machine? Leave it. Come, let's go. So I ran off and turns out the client is in the same area. And I'm
mm,
like, what's going on? This is very strange. I'm going with a director and a senior manager. I'm an associate too. That means I've only been there this second year. I don't know what's going on. So I get in there and we are presenting to a board. And this is the time you look at yourself and you're like, what am I doing? So this really, first of all, when you want something, use your voice, ask for it. But that's not where we're going. So where we're going is the project kicked off, and I've never been in a project, and we're supposed to evaluate this client and get to know exactly what they do from end to end and help them improve on efficiencies and for them to procure an ERP, that's an enterprise resource planning, um, what's it called, a system. So this means that I have to know how ERPs work. I have never worked with an ERP. I have never worked on a project. I do not know where to start. So the person I was working with is an SAP specialist. And
mm,
the thing that she told me was when you want to work with a system, you don't start from the center and you're like, this is a system, this is technology, this is
mm,
digital. And that is what I'd like to define is now that is the definition that I want us to base it on for you to understand how the digital world works is in order for me to get something from Emmanuel to the supermarket, Emmanuel
yeah.
has to carry it on his back. So
Mm,
how can we use Emmanuel's time better and improve this transportation by reducing cost and saving on time and reducing the effort so that Emmanuel's um, skills can be used better. That is what digital is about. Reducing on the manual processes and making sure that whatever it is that we are trying to achieve can be done with the least effort
yeah.
and saving cost and time. Sometimes you can spend more but you need to save on time. And in the long run, you need to save on money, because time equals to money. Using people's skills better equals to money. Improving on your product equals to money. Improving on your processes equals to money. So if you're able to see, if in the ideal case, I would have had him take, like a cart, that would improve on the efficiency. But this guy who's pulling the cart is going to be using the same effort as Emmanuel was using. So how about we get a truck? But do we have enough things to transport with the cart? That's how to think about it. You don't
Interesting.
think about digital as something that exists in space. You need to think about it as something that improves efficiencies, and therefore there is something that exists to improve the efficiencies the way you envision it. That is what it as.
Lovely
Yeah.
stuff, and very well
Yeah.
defined. Because I think when we look at transformation, when people think about transformation, they ideally view it as the use of technology to simply improve particular performance, or to help uh, improve something, vaguely speaking, that is. But ideally, there's
Yeah.
that 360-degree approach that's required. And I really, it's funny that you mentioned about your certification in Agile. First of all,
Mhm.
congratulations. I'm in the process
Thank
of,
you.
yeah, congratulations.
Very
Um,
good.
yes. Yeah, congratulations. Because I'm also in the process of getting my practitioner after the foundation, the Prince 2 practitioner. Then I jump onto the Agile, which is something very interesting, that you actually understand the Agile environment that's required for businesses to operate in order to fully integrate transformation as a whole. So I think it'll be a
Yeah.
really great discussion ahead. So yes, a very lovely explanation, and to provide a foundation in terms of what digital transformation is. Now, in the past year or so, we've seen the educational system. Let's just talk about Kenya for a moment. We've seen, I believe the exact statistic was 85% of students did not attend online classes in the past 1 year, because the public
Mhm.
sector, the whole lack of digitization, which ideally, as a developing country, it's not something that there's only so much we can do. But having
Yeah.
said that, what do you feel are the opportunities that the public sector can capitalize on in terms of digitizing the educational process, or some future trends that you foresee within the educational sector?
Something that has been done in the past and even presently, probably even in healthcare and transport, is privatization. The
Yes.
problem with privatization is it looks like it's going to bring in access,
Mm.
and a lot more people are going to be able to afford and access it. But we live in a country where the haves and have-nots are very separate. There are people who can probably access, let's say, if the government was to say that let's give this project to the private sector, and they make sure that all these kids can be able to get to class digitally, yeah, or online or off-site.
Yeah.
But to imagine that people are going to be selfless in this sense is something that we need to live to see that. It just came to my
Interesting.
mind that there's a former classmate of mine who has actually gotten awards recently because of giving access to digital platforms for education. Angaza Elimu, you can actually check them out. So
Definitely.
Angaza Elimu, I need to check them out more, but it has to do with enabling access to education, but not
Mm.
because, for example, I'm using a laptop and I have a phone, and most people probably even have a tablet added to it, or an iPad for bougie people. So if you have such things and
Yes.
you find that for a child you have to have a tablet that is at least 5,000 to 8,000 shillings, and that's a very base model, you know. So the question is, are these people able to afford it? And can we have leasing, for example, as an option?
Mm.
And what are the risks with leasing? Can we have, I don't know, USSD working instead of, because people have feature phones, can we have some of these programs working on smartphones? Because we have some smartphones that are at least 3,000 to 5,000 shillings. And so if they are enabled to have access to this platform, so we're talking apps, we're talking very low data consuming and even space consuming apps that clear out the cache, and having these children, instead of you telling kids that if the thing is not this size, you can't learn. Because some of us thought that if we are not journaling on physical books, we will die. We're currently journaling on notes or on Google Keep. We have not died. We have to evolve or die. The evolution is what causes us not to die. So if access can be thought of as more of an opportunity for these people to grow, or an opportunity for everybody to have access, in order for something more than just profit, I think then it would work. Because if you would have thought as M-Pesa as a way for people to get access to money, but then Safaricom would have asked themselves, if these people get their money, how do I gain? It looks very crazy, but businesses grow. Safaricom is developing a sort of, it's more like an ERP process because of that sort of thing. Because most like an accounting system for themselves. So if most businesses are running on M-Pesa, then you need your accounting then to be done on M-Pesa. So if M-Pesa can give you an accounting system, then that works. That's a vision. People are getting the M-Pesa statements as opposed to bank statements. People are getting loans from M-Pesa instead of the bank. People are getting, and they're short-term loans, they're smaller loans. People are saving with M-Pesa as opposed to the bank. So if you're short-sighted and you only see the short-term profits, then you can't see what this would give you in the long run. You don't know. You can start, you can run curriculums through those apps. You can run now, like for example, I do jewelry on the side. So if such systems can then be rolled out later, and now I'm teaching children how to do jewelry or art for mental wellness. You see, it gives you reach, it helps. So I would have to pay for that app because I'm trying to roll out something to these children. That's how you get the cash. It's not by thinking I'm giving these people access, they need to pay me.
Interesting. And I could echo those words. I had Gibson Okwara. He's the head of, I believe, operations. If I'm not wrong, Gibson, I hope I'm not wrong, head of operations at Little Ride. And he said a very profound quote that I believe also echoes what you just said. He mentioned that innovations, specifically within Africa, should have a keen focus on developing communities and building communities, and not so much on profit. And the more I think about it, the more I have discussions with fellow guests, the more I understand the extent as to how accurate that is. And I genuinely believe what you said is 100% correct in terms of there's only so much that the government can do. They're a government, but then you have the private sector who have this very creative, very passionate individuals who see these different problems within the communities, and they're able to create then tailored solutions, which ideally is what's required at the end of the day. But that integration in the public and private sector maybe is something that we need to develop, or because I don't really want to tell anybody how to do their job, because obviously people know, I don't want to be like, there's only so much that you can say, but it's clear that that should be the next step. Maybe that's how I can package it. Lovely.
Just so you know, the public and private partnerships are something that's happening. You should check out the site for PPP. So this is supposed to help. See, for example,
repeat the name again. Sorry, I don't want to miss that. I just want to make sure I get it.
You can just type in PPP.
PPP. Okay, perfect.
So it's something like public and private partnerships.
Yeah.
So where the government comes in and says, this is the project, and we need you need as a consultant, like for example, KPMG would have come in to manage on the consulting side, like give risk matrix or come up with a work plan or to evaluate this is feasible, this is the feasibility matrix or any of those. So there are very many stages, and I don't want to get into that because I was in a group that was trying to develop that when the PPPs came out. But there's the private sector then does the funding. So
Mm.
you find someone to fund the project. And once you fund a project for yourself, the government pays you per the work done. So now
Mhm.
that we have, for example, the government building roads or all these facilities like hospitals, schools, whatever, you would have the private sector doing it and the government then paying,
Mm.
monitoring that this is being done per the timelines and all those things, because the government cannot audit itself, but the government can only pay you when you do your job. And some of these payment plans span up to, let's say, 50 years. So if in 50 years, you say like you have a road made and in 2 years there are potholes. So part of these partnerships,
Mhm.
the maintenance is part of the work that the private sector is supposed to do. So if you do a shoddy job from the beginning, then it will cost you in the maintenance.
Yeah.
So if you do a good job, you won't have to keep doing the maintenance. Then when you get paid, you're going to have your money. But if you get paid for the building and then you just have to keep spending on the maintenance because you're giving an account to the government, then you will still have to pay out of pocket. So this is a way to protect the public. Because either way, it's either the government or the private sector suffering, but the Monanchi still has their road, their school, their hospital.
Mm.
And I think the government coming together and agreeing to have this private public
Keep.
and private partnerships is just something amazing, because protecting people's tax money is very important, and protecting people's standard of living. It is not right that people sit in traffic and we lose money because I should have been somewhere, I should have been making money, I should have been on a podcast. Wow. But I was not. I was in traffic on Waiaki Way. So it's a bit crazy. Yeah. But that's yes, the government is getting into partnerships with the private sector, but it's for very big projects that span up
Mm.
to a number of years. And if we could probably propose that the government do this even for the education sector, and we are having people coming up with a sustainable program for how they're going to fund for kids to have access to technology and to classrooms and to good education,
Yeah.
then that would be amazing.
Lovely stuff. And also my first time. I have heard of the terminology PPP, the triple P, but I guess I've never really understood exactly what it is. I've just heard the terminology being thrown around. Very insightful also to understand about that, and also for the audience as well to have that knowledge if you did not prior to that. Yeah, as I said, I was genuinely looking forward to this discussion. Very insightful discussions from ranging from just understanding what this transformation is and how it's influencing the individuals that will truly be impacted by it, the millennials, the generation Z, and the generation Alpha that are coming up as well. So, to kick off our very final discussion of the day, we always
Mhm.
like to have a focus specifically on the youth as a whole. Now, we
Mhm.
always ask our guests, what is one piece of advice that you would give to your 20-year-old self if you had the opportunity to have that discussion?
Wow. Okay. 20-year-old self.
Mm.
I have so many things. While I was in school, my mom tried to tell me to do CPAs. I told her I will not do CPAs. Um, and then she tried to tell me I should do CCNA, and I told her I will not do CCNA. So I still would go back to School of Engineering and not do CPAs or CCNAs because I'm doing neither of those two things currently. They help some of my colleagues, but I still feel that you need to leave a little. Life is not all about coming out here and thinking, well, I need to be industry effective and I need to figure this out by the time I'm 21. Because if I was 20, I had just a year to figure it out, and I must have been in second year going to third year. And I was like, I can't finish school and not know what I'm up to and all those things. Work on developing yourself in terms of understanding what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, what your interests are, and what you actually do not enjoy. I have painfully discovered last month, that I work better at night. I didn't know that.
Interesting.
I genuinely did not know that. And so those are things that I should have figured out by the time I was 20. I should have told myself, try working at night, try working in the morning. But you see, I was living alone and I could read any time of day. So I never even bothered to know what time works for me. And I struggled, and I woke up every day at 5 to work out and do all those things. And I was ready by 8. But I should have just woken up and prepared myself. And I like to be with myself in the morning, but I work best at night. And I did not know that, because in high school we were told only witches work at night. Really. The things you're told in high school are very, very bad. So figuring things out for me was amazing. And something else I'd tell myself is to actually keep looking for mentorship opportunities. And I can tell you that in the last 2 years, I have learned so much from sitting down with leaders. And again, if you want something, ask for it. I walked up to the former CEO of KPMG and I told him, sir, someone told me that you used to mentor them and have chats with A1s when he was an A1. You don't do that anymore. Why? He said, no one has asked me to. So I said, and I am asking you to. So it felt like an opportunity to do it one-on-one. And I told him, no, I'd like to bring friends, which is something that most people don't do. You don't let other people into the room. So I held the door and I told him, I'd like to bring a bunch of associates. And he asked how many. I said 4. And so I actually brought 4 people along. And it was so interesting to have a year scattered meeting with the CEO and just listening to him. And, you ask him questions like, how did you know that your journey would get you here? How did you get here? He said, I didn't. And I did not have to do everything all at the same time. It's in knowing right now I'm interested in project management. So I'm doing a Prince to Agile course. Then that leads to another interest. And when I get there, I do that. And I get, so your the whole anxiety and stress of saying I have to figure everything out by the time I'm 21 is crazy. And you need people who've been there to tell you that. And another thing that I have, so to remember to ask for what I want, and to remember to figure myself out, and to look for people to mentor me. So I think that's what I would say to my 20-year-old self, which I still did these things, but I did them a bit later. I should have started from the beginning. Yeah.
Excellent advice. Excellent. Something also I genuinely believe in. I really love to do this sort of one-on-one discussions, because prior I used to do a lot of I used to love going for networking events. I used to love going for them because I found them as a way to just briefly boost my self-confidence, a way for me to learn how to talk to people, because that's something that even I can see, even like with previous guests, they tell me, yeah, I'm a bit nervous, which is fine. On my end, I'd consider myself an individual who used to be quite nervous to talk to individuals that, as now you're saying, that are senior to you, which is very normal once again. But I personally, I wanted to get rid of that. I wanted to be someone who was just free and open to talk to anybody. And networking was a really great way to experience that. Going for these networking events, talking to people, just having that awkwardness, just getting rid of it. That is, and I found this platform, which is funny enough. I've never really put this out there, but that's the main reason as to why we even do the Zuriel Show. It's a way for the youth to experience a form of brief mentorship with individuals who may be in a position where they want to be, or individuals that have gone through something similar. And yeah, I really like that you echoed that in a very unique way. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. Is there any last words that you may want to share with the audience before
Actually, there's something I
call it an
want to
episode?
throw back at you. Something I want to throw back at you.
Please
And
go
you've been asking me questions, and I'm the one who's been on the hot seat. So it's
ahead.
back to
Oh,
you.
no.
And if because I can tell that you're passionate about the youth and the learning opportunities that they will get and all these things. So first of all, I think there's something that I probably did not say. So a lot of people will tell you that the future is in data, the future is in tech, the future is in cyber, the future is in all these things. But you need to know that the future is not necessarily just IT and engineering and computer science. Data can be used from anywhere, from accounting, from being a teacher, from being a PA, from being wherever. Data is only useful if you know how to use it. So you take technology and marry it with what you're doing. It doesn't mean that everybody has to do IT. No, that's not what data, cybersecurity, and all these things. It just means that you need to give yourself up from ignorance and see how you can marry tech and make what you do more efficient through tech. So there's no pressure. There are opportunities in from you can even be a smart plumber, you can be a smart wood craftsman, you can be a smart hairdresser, you can be a smart driver, you can be a smart manager in a bank, you can be a smart anything you want to be, as long as you marry it with whatever it is that you do. So the question I was throwing back to you, I just wanted to cover that because you had asked me previously. So what I wanted to throw back at you briefly is, what is it that, if you had a dream, what is it that would be a dream for the youth, a dream for education, or any of these sectors? What would it be in an ideal utopian world? What is it that it would be?
Excellent question. Really excellent question. So first of all, I don't think we understand how powerful and capable our youth are. I always like to tell people that, hey, listen, I'm not smart. Like I always like right now, like when I talk to you, I'm really happy that you're someone who's really enthusiastic about books and education. Personally, sorry, I just need to give a really holistic answer to this. Just a answer. Personally, I was a professional, so I competed professionally in the Kenyan team. Right. And school was something that I used to really push myself, but sports was where I really pushed myself mentally. School was a way for me to just package myself as an individual, to learn the necessary tools and, if you may, disciplines to become a valuable individual within society. So, really speaking, I believe that the youth are powerful beyond what we can imagine. So there's two things that I see being in an ideal situation. The first thing is having East Africa, or Kenya in particular, a bit biased because I'm Kenyan, but in this case, having East Africa being the leading change within the digital space, and the youth being the individuals that are providing the solutions to the ever-growing needs within the respective communities, to me, it's ensuring that the youth have this mindset, providing this innovative mindset. One thing that we're really looking to do at Zuriel is to host regular innovative programs that target the youth in providing them with a different way of thinking. And currently we're in the process of putting that together in terms of getting organizations that already provide these solutions and providing them at scale and to individuals that are on the grassroots levels. Because you'll find that if you go right now to a certain county right now, you'll find a youth-led initiative that is, if it was supported, it will make a drastic difference towards that particular community. So to me, yes, as you rightfully put it, the digital space is something that we're advocating for, but we're advocating for it because that is where we will be. That is what you may call, that is the language that we will be speaking as the world. So understanding how to position yourself, as in vaguely speaking, how to master your digital presence is what we're looking to push forward. And then from there is ensuring that the youth develop a new way of thinking, not changing the system. I don't think that's something anyone should do unless you have a 360-degree solution. We're simply looking for youth to be the continuous problem solvers and not waiting for the government to solve those problems. So fostering an environment in which the youth constantly are solving problems, turning East Africa as a whole into be the leading solutions for digital as a whole. So that isn't an ideal environment, but it's a worthwhile journey that we're looking to push forward with much ahead. But these discussions ideally serve as our starting point, because I believe you can't just throw the youth into the hot pan, because you need to first see what is happening on the ground. What exactly is it like? What are some future trends? What exactly is this thing called transformation? And then opening up the opportunities to then become problem solvers. So I hope I can be able to provide that briefly and clearly. Yeah.
I like that.
Thank you. But yes, there's a lot to be done, and I really learn from each and every discussion and encounter such as this. Definitely, I really enjoyed our session. Very insightful. Really enjoyed the discussions as a whole. Yes, we've definitely reached the end of the show. My longest episode yet. So I really appreciate it.
Really?
Yes. I mean, I've been thinking I should make my episodes an hour, because a lot of my guests, I find the conversations start getting really good in when we're reaching like past halfway. So I'm thinking of making them longer. I'll probably start experimenting on that. But
you should first do your research and find out from your viewers whether they want it to be that long. So use technology to help you. Google phone.
Excellent. Put out your Google Forms across the different platforms. Get 20 to 30 responses. See what to do with that data. That is lovely stuff. Lovely. Thank you for that as well. Great recommendation. For the audience members, thank you so much for making it all the way to the end of this episode, which is episode 30. We've hit the big 30. We really appreciate you for the growing audience within the Zuriel Show. Julie, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on. And for the audience members, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and share this episode with a friend if you find value in it. Until next time, goodbye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you very much.